Brother, what's going on, everybody? It's Civil here, and we're back today with another video. But before we get into what we're going to be talking about, we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. We're going to be able to hit it very, very soon. So please do me a favor right now. If you're new to the channel, make sure you guys do scroll down, hit that little subscribe button, and hit the little bell icon to get notified as soon as I upload a new video. I promise you guys, you are not going to want to miss any of my uploads as soon as they launch. Now, in today's video, we're going to be talking about the 5 biggest things, in my opinion, that are going to separate pros like myself to amateurs who are barely able to get 14, 15, 16, 17 games of weekend league. These are the 5 biggest things that are really going to be the biggest difference makers between you losing and you winning more of these games, and these are going to be the biggest things, in my opinion, that really will help you take your game to the next level. Now, as always, before we get into the video, we're going to be starting with our typical question of the day. Now, last week I asked you guys, if there was one playbook you have and you had to live with it for the rest of your life, what would it be? And you guys said the Oakland Raiders playbook. This means most of you guys are toters, and I am very disappointed in you. Today's question of the day is going to be something that I think is actually going to be kind of fun to answer and kind of fun to think about. I know I got excited thinking about it. And it's going to be, if you were an NFL player right now in the NFL today, what is the one ability from Madden that you would want on yourself? Now, if it's me, I want a forcer because I like the boom. Make sure you guys go to the comment section right now and let me know. And if while you guys are making your way down there, make sure you guys do hit that like button. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell icon. We're on the road to 1,000. Do not be late to the party. Now, let's get right into the video. So the first thing on our list is going to be something on the offensive side of the ball. It's going to be an offensive passing tip. And it's going to be something that you could tell immediately when you're looking at this between a pro and an amateur. It's going to be coming down to route combos, okay? So immediately, I'm in the gun A slot formation. Now, this is just merely for demonstration purposes. People do this on all types of stuff. This is just a formation that I use. I've used it all year. It's what made me into the player I am today. Ebook is linked in the description below. But notice this route combo right here. This is a stock play. And notice what happens when I snap this ball. How a lot of these routes are going to be kind of really close to each other. Now, I'm going to run it again. I want you to watch and actually look at the spacing between some of these routes and really notice how these routes kind of start going on top of each other. You know, you have A, Y, RB, all going to the same place, like, along with these two backside in routes. And what that allows is when I go into instant replay, I'll be able to show you a lot better. What that allows is for a user defender, you know, you typically someone's on a middle linebacker here or a safety, to be able to alert these routes a lot easier. You see, it's very easy to go back from something like this up top to up here, or vice versa from up here down to here very easily. Along with having these routes run into each other on the sideline, it's not super ideal, okay, because it just allows, you know, the closer together people are, the easier it is for someone to guard them. You know, the farther apart they are, the more ground the defense has to cover. Closer they are, the less ground defense has to cover. That is a very bad thing. I'll see something like this quite a bit too, where someone put like a slant and, you know, something like this, where these routes just don't really, you know, the spacing just isn't great. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not great, and a lot of times that ends up leading you into guess passing, which is not good. So what I want to show you guys is a way to kind of be able to give yourself some spacing between routes and make these reads a lot easier for yourself. Now, this is a play I like to call the idiot beater. One of the plays I featured in my ebook is one of my most ran plays. Last weekend, I went 40-2 in weekend league in a 24-hour stream, running mostly this play right here, actually. So notice how the spacing here is super hard to actually work all the different routes. Notice right here where the only thing that's really even close to each other is this curl and this hitch, and even that's meant to manipulate a user and manipulate CPU zones, where a user really just has to choose one part of the field or another. Notice how right here, these are the closest routes we have to each other, and they're still far apart between these two, where it's easy to tell where a user is lurking. And then we have a high-low over here, where a user isn't going to be able to cover everything here. And notice how none of these routes really run into each other. Notice how we're about 2 or 3 seconds into the play, and there's a lot of spacing between them. Another example is right here, where a lot of people do something like this, where you have this really good crossing route, and we're out of trips tight end right here, but then they'll put like a backside slant or something, and then a drag, and then you have all these routes kind of starting to run into each other, where it's kind of easy for a user to be able to lurk them. Now, there is a little bit of spacing right there, but it's not ideal, and a user is going to be able to do a very good job of being able to bounce back and forth between them, whereas instead, a better route combo, instead of all having them go in the same direction, will be something along this line, where you're going to be able to have the crosser and a streak, and then you have a high-low on the left side, where the user isn't going to be able to defend everything on the field. Now, it's all about making the right read right here, but this is where you're able to really space out the field and make the defense have to cover more ground. And this is super important if they're sending a blitz, because when someone's blitzing you and you have to make a read fast, you want things to be more spread out, so it's easier to see what the defense is actually doing, especially the user defender. But let's wrap it up. Very first thing that pros are able to do that amateurs are not. The second thing I want to talk about is just pure stick skill. Now, right here, this is some of D. Croft's highlights is on his Twitter Twitter, which will be linked in the description below. He also has a stick ebook, which is also part of the link in the description below, and acemadden.com, which is huge in improving your stick game. And notice how many times he gets so close to being tackled, and he actually is able to turn these into touchdowns. Those over and over again. He's about to get tackled. He's able to turn them into touchdowns, which is huge because it's limiting the amount of plays that he has on offense and turning them into big scores. I mean, these are huge advantages for the fact that if he scores, there's no chance he turns the ball over that possession, if that makes sense. It's a very, very easy thing to understand how this can turn possessions. You know, he's taken damn near, 5-10 yard routes and turn them into huge, huge, huge gains. Same with runs and same with kick returns, interceptions, punt returns, whatever it might be. He's turning these, what should be simple tackles, even right there's a great example, into just magnificent plays for huge touchdowns, which is just insane in the fact that you're able to get your offense off the field and still be able to score points in a less amount of time. You're putting yourself at less risk if you're able to score in less plays, if that makes sense. So not really a whole lot to talk about with that one, but I think it's very, very obvious how just working on stick skill, going to practice mode, and really learning how to maneuver your players, be able to make someone miss, especially a CPU, or rather a user defender. Being able to make a user defender miss is such a huge advantage for you because you'll be able to turn plays like this into touchdowns. All right, so that's gonna be number 2 on our list. The next huge thing, and this honestly might be the number 1 biggest thing, is going to be user on defense, and this is something I actually wanted to talk more about than actually show, just because it's easier for me to be able to talk and very, very hard for me to be able to show it in real time. What you guys are doing a lot of times, and when you're using on defense, a lot of times you guys are just running around kind of in no man's land and not really pay attention to what routes are really developing on the field. And what you need to start doing is pay attention to the receiver's first 1, 2, and 3 steps and be able to kind of tell what routes he's going to start stemming out on. Now, if you see 2 vertical stems right next to each other, a lot of times it's going to be a streak and then a corner or a post right next to it, just because that's usually how these route combos develop. You also need to be aware out of different formations what's going to be coming out of a bunch. A lot of times it could be a corner or a post and a streak. Out of tight and really any kind of compressed sets, it's usually going to be those corners and posts and a streak right next to them, whereas trips will typically have a crosser along with a slant or something like that. And you're able to tell with your user almost immediately once you start getting used to it and really starting to pay attention and paying your mind to really trying to focus on these things. Now again, it is one of those things that is kind of really hard to really get deep down and show, but it's something you just have to start thinking about when you're on defense, is really, pay attention to what route combos are on the field. Ask yourself, what is your user using this play? And ask yourself on the last play, did your user actually affect it and play real defense, or did you just kind of run around? The 4th thing I want to talk about is going to be another thing where it's just a lot easier for me just to be able to discuss it directly with you guys instead of trying to find gameplay and stuff like that and be able to really show you, and that's going to be not making dumb mistakes. So what that really means is a couple of things. 1, don't give up free points on defense, and I mean by not putting deep blues, by not using correctly, just giving up wide open balls that should be easily covered by yourself. And on offense, not throwing really, really stupid picks and not having really, really poor clock management where you cheat yourself out of potential touchdowns or, field goals or any kind of points before half or at the end of the game. You want to make sure you're really, really using your head and just don't screw yourself over by mental mistakes. I see this happen all the time where someone will throw a really, really dumb interception for no reason, for a ball they should have never forced because it was first down in the red zone, and they try forcing something that they should just never have done. They should have just thrown the ball away and lived to play another down. And people just like to really force these things, and this really happens in huge games where people are playing with money on the line or for some kind of pride or something like that. And you just have to take into account, even before the snap, I'll tell myself, I cannot afford to be stupid right here. So I will sometimes play over conservative, but that's a main part, and because I don't want to do something very, very stupid that will end up costing me a game because I decide to force something and I don't get 3 before half and I throw a pick, and that, because those picks can be huge because those immediately give the other team the possession of the ball, obviously, and now you're already down a possession, which is just such a huge thing in Madden where you have such a limited possession. So that's a really, really big thing that I think a lot of people don't really understand, is that you have to limit the dumb mistake. You can't be giving people points, and you can't take points away from yourselves. You give people points by giving up free, easy touchdowns or free, easy field goals, by giving up long routes that you should be using, and you take points away from yourself by throwing really bad interceptions, by having really bad clock management and things of that nature, and you just can't afford to do that. And that's something that pro people, people who are pros at this game, including myself, are great at managing and making sure that we limit the amount of times we give up easy points, and we never ever take points away from ourselves. And when we do, typically you'll see us lose those games, and a lot of times we'll lose by 3 points, 6 points, touchdown, whatever it might be. A lot of times it will come down to that costly dumb mistake at the end of these games. And I challenge you guys to look back at some of your losses and to see how many of them are because of one mistake you made at a random time during the game where you just went stupid for one play. Alright, so that's going to wrap it up for number 4 on our list. The final thing on my list is going to be kind of a harsh reality for some of you guys, so get ready. To become great at Madden, you're going to have to do one thing, and it's absolutely certain that you have to do it at some point, and that's going to be you're going to have to lab at some point, and that means get into practice mode and really try to figure some things out. The biggest advice I have for that is that when you encounter a problem in a game, something that gives you trouble, go into practice mode and figure it out. And this is something where you just have to practice it. You know, you can watch all these videos, every single video I put out, every single video any other YouTuber puts out, but if you're not willing to actually go into practice mode and take these things and actually perfect them, and you know, perfect the scheme that you run on offense, perfect the scheme that you run on defense, and have a game plan for anything you see on offense and anything you see on defense, you're just never going to become a good player. You're always going to be kind of ad-libbing and winging it whenever you're in these games. And that's the best thing that pro players are able to do, is that when we're in these games, we've seen these offensive and defensive sets a million times, so I know everything I want to do against just about every single set I ever will play. And that's such a huge thing because I always feel comfortable. And when you feel comfortable doing something, the game slows down and you're able to think a lot clearer, and you're able to make adjustments a lot better, you're able to make reads a lot better, you're able to have a lot better stick skill. Everything I've listed so far in this video is a lot easier once you feel comfortable, and comfortability all comes from repetition, and repetition all happens inside the lab. Okay, so that is my biggest piece of advice for you guys, is everything comes down to actually practicing and actually hitting the lab and encountering problems and be able to figure them out on your own. Because if you only rely on YouTube videos, you will run into issues that when you're mid-game that you wouldn't have if you would have just labbed it a little bit and understood it on your own. Let's go wrap up this video, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you made it this far into the video, a huge shout out to you, and make sure you guys leave the words ramen noodles in the chat in the comment section below. That's my favorite college meal, and I just had some for dinner, so make sure you guys leave that in the comment section below, and I will know that you made it this far. Hit the like button, and make sure, if you guys have not already, hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon. It helps me a lot personally, so please, I thank y'all, and I'll see you guys all next time.